Today we're going to talk about 3 common mental filters that people with anxiety experience constantly. When we struggle with anxiety, we also see the world differently. The way that we see the world reflects our internal state of fear. It's not a bad thing. It's intended to keep us safe and help us make assessments of the dangers around us. Many people talk about mental filters as if it's the person's choice to think that way. They try to get you to stop the thoughts or replace them, and they might even use language of shame around having these types of thoughts in the first place. They might tell you that you're overreacting, being too sensitive, or that you only see the negative and that you need to be more positive. And although it might be coming from a good place, they might be lacking the understanding of how our minds work and don't realize that this is not a choice, but rather a response to our nervous system going into fight or flight, or being stuck in a chronic state of fight or flight. Hi, my name is Micheline Maalouf. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. I make videos to help you understand yourself better and to take charge of your mental health. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 most common mental filters that show up when we have anxiety. And although everyone will experience these at some point in their lives, those with anxiety experience these daily to varying degrees. But before I get into the mental filters, let's talk about why they show up in the first place. When our nervous system is in fight or flight, it's meant to see all possible bad outcomes because its goal is to keep us alive. It can't risk missing a single thing, so it becomes hypervigilant, looking for signs of dangers everywhere, and even the slightest triggers might start to look extremely dangerous to us. This is because when we're in actual danger, we don't need the critical thinking part of our brain. The critical thinking part of our brain is the most advanced part of our brain that was the last part to evolve. That's the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, which is the critical thinking part of our brain, goes offline, and our limbic brain takes over. Our limbic brain is the oldest part of our brain, and its primary focus is to keep us alive. So its one job is to receive danger cues and activate us into taking action to stay alive. Its job is not to determine whether or not the threat we have received is rational. Back in the caveman days, this was really important. But as you might imagine, we may not need that level of protection today. So what happens? We still see the world through the filtered sense of fight or flight. Here's how being in that state impacts our thoughts and behaviors. Imagine this. You come home after a long day at work and you expect to see your partner at home, since they're usually home before you. But this time you get home and it's silent. Their car is there, so they must be home. You call for them. You search every room in the house with no sign of your partner. Your mind starts wandering. You call their phone. No answer. You text them, but you're getting too anxious to wait for a response. So you call again. No answer. You text again. You call again. You look outside to make sure you did see that their car was still there. The car is there. Your heart begins to race and you start getting shaky. Then you start thinking, what if they went for a walk somewhere and got hit by a car? And now they're alone in the hospital. Wait, what if they wanted to end things with me but couldn't, so they ran away? Oh my God. What if this is one of those disappeared cases where I never find them again? No, it can't be. They definitely got in a car accident of some sort. You look at the time. Oh my God, it's been 10 minutes. You begin to feel dizzy. You decide it's best to call all the hospitals and the police stations to see if there have been any accidents. You're on the verge of a panic attack. You start to envision your life after this tragic event, the funeral. Will there be a funeral if we never find them? Oh my God, I can't do this. When you suddenly see them riding up on a bike and suddenly remember they told you they would be playing tennis after work and it had completely slipped your mind. You burst into tears and you start feeling angry at yourself and then at them for not reminding you. Why didn't you text me and remind me? You feel relief. Your body starts to calm down and your brain goes back online. What you have just experienced is the mental filter called catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is seeing the worst possible outcome in a situation and then spiraling as if the situation has already happened. This is one of the most common mental filters that people with anxiety experience. The symptom is the horrific catastrophe of a story your brain goes into when it doesn't have all the answers. Mental filter number 2. In this scenario, you're at work, sitting at your desk, when you look over at your office bestie, only to realize they're chatting with someone through Messenger. They have a smile on their face as if they're talking about something funny or juicy, and they haven't included you. Wait, they haven't even engaged with you all day. You remember when you walked in this morning and said good morning, they were on the phone, so they didn't respond, but why haven't they come to talk to you yet? And worse, why are you not part of this chat? Oh my God, they must be mad at you. You start to analyze every conversation you've had with them for the past 3 days to see where you messed up. You realize now they got a new haircut, but you didn't comment on it. What if they're mad? You start shaming yourself and reminding yourself of how horrible of a friend you are. You look over at them and they're still smiling and chatting, but they haven't looked over at you. Oh my God, they're so mad at you. That's what you think to yourself. You begin to feel really horrible and tears build in your eyes. You just know they hate you. You just know they're ending the friendship. So you begin to think of how you can quit your job and still pay rent. When finally, they look over and signal at you to come over while laughing, saying, "Come here, you have to see this." What you've experienced there is a mental filter called mind reading. With mind reading, we interpret another person's actions and make assumptions about their thoughts and feelings without adequate evidence. This can happen in small situations, such as analyzing somebody's tone of voice or eye contact, or it can happen in bigger situations when someone's behavior is just off that day. This one's extremely common among romantic partners too. It's common for us to assume that our partner is mad at us when they look mad or upset, and we tend to make the assumption that we did something to upset them rather than thinking that it could be an external circumstance. The third mental filter is called overgeneralization. In this scenario, you get a project from your boss, and you are tasked with presenting this year's data with your team at the Friday morning meeting. You're horrified. You say to yourself, "But I'm a terrible public speaker. I always freak out and forget my words." Flashbacks of your college speech class presentations seep in. The blank face while everyone was staring at you. Horrified. Never mind that you prepared your speech in college the night before after a night out drinking and partying. Never mind that you didn't have time to practice. And never mind that it was just that one speech. You have still concluded that you are a terrible speaker. You start prepping for the meeting, you get all your ducks in a row, make the presentation slides, and practice with your family. Friday morning comes along, and you present your findings to the team without any hiccups. And it was well received. You sigh with relief and think, maybe I'm not horrible at presentations and public speaking. What you have just experienced is an overgeneralization. Overgeneralization is when we make broad interpretations based on a single event or a few experiences. In this case, the idea that you're bad at presentations is based on the single event in college that has discouraged you from attempting other presentations. These are just 3 out of the 10 mental filters that we can engage in, and I will be going over more of these mental filters in future videos. But right now, I want to discuss some tips that I have for you on how to begin to help yourself if you've experienced these. As a therapist who works with clients who have a lot of anxiety and intrusive thoughts, I found these 4 tips to be the most helpful to all my clients. My first tip is to familiarize yourself with all of these filters. Self-awareness is so critical. When we are self-aware, we have insight into what's happening, and although it won't necessarily stop these thoughts from happening, we can recognize them and implement the following coping skills sooner so that we can move through it sooner with less panic. Number 2, when you notice yourself engaging in mental filters such as catastrophic thinking, I want you to notice and say, "I'm having the thought" before each intrusive or catastrophic thought. For example, I'm having the thought my partner has been in a terrible accident. I'm having the thought that my friend is mad at me. I'm having the thought that I'm a terrible public speaker. The simple act of saying I'm having the thought can help us create a separation between us and the thought, and it helps remind you that the thought is a thought. It helps bring your prefrontal cortex back online and get you out of fight or flight quicker. Number 3, once you have done that, practice self-soothing to ease your nervous system. You can do this by talking to someone about your anxiety, journaling, listening to music, working out, or anything that has worked in the past to get your body to release that extra energy and get you back to a regulated state. This is an essential step. And finally, be compassionate with yourself. And don't expect your anxious thoughts to disappear. Your anxiety will be there. Welcome it. Get comfortable knowing it. It cannot hurt you. Practice soothing and self-caring after the anxious attack. I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope it helped you develop some insight into the type of thoughts that you're having because of your anxiety and gave you some actionable tools that you can utilize on a daily basis to help you get through this faster. Let me know if you have experienced any of these in the comments below, and let me know what questions you have about this. Have you tried any of these tips? And of course, look out for future videos talking about the rest of these mental filters. I'll see you next time.